No, so as I was saying, I was actually talking to Dylan earlier on, and he tried giving me a piece of his answer to this question, to this argument. As you saw the post, probably I said, can morals exist without religion? Dylan gave me a piece, but I wanted to firstly ask you. I wanted to just firstly know from you, the concept of morals in itself. How high do you regard morals? Why is it important for you to just do the right thing and keep it in mind as you navigate through life? Is it that important to you? If it is,
I mean, besides me seeing morals as important, to do good, I first want to actually talk about just the concept of moral.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me going deep into that.
Yeah.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah. Can.
Yeah. So when you brought this question up, it really made me ponder. It made me ponder on this very specific thing. So I imagined three different worlds, right? Um, that maybe could have existed, just to see how important morality is. So the three different worlds I thought of is an amoral society. This is basically a society where there is no good and there is no bad.
Yeah.
You just act in accordance to how you feel, right? And then the second world, I call this world utopia, or a more constrained world. So this is a world where you don't get to decide. Like everything is basically perfect. There's no wrong. You can never ever. It's impossible to choose wrong, right? Everything is just absolutely perfect, and there's no choice basically. And then of course the world that we live in, which is called, it's the truly free world where we can decide, based from the free will that we all have. Uh, Created by whichever entity that you guys believe it got created by. So yeah, bro, I thought of the first world, right? So the first world, which is an amoral world, a world where you can absolutely do anything you want, and there's no wrong or right. And for the most part, I think we can all agree to how chaotic that even sounds. That's a very chaotic world. That world, it's basically gonna be a more like a survival of the fittest, where the people that are the strongest are gonna,
I'm still wrong. So you were saying?
Oh yes, okay. Yeah, so to continue, yeah, that world will be filled with so much chaos. I mean, we can, for the most part, we can all agree to that. There will be so much chaos to the point where we will struggle to grow evolutionary. There will be a lack of innovation because nobody will even want to. Because for the most part, the reason why we create is to solve problems. But if you live in this world where there's no right or wrong, nobody cares about each other, like no one is gonna wanna even innovate or try to create solutions to certain problems, which come from people's immoral behaviors. You know, and also it's just there'll be a huge lack of trust. I don't think anyone will trust each other, because there's just like right or wrong doesn't exist. So someone is capable of doing anything to me if they want to, and they will have no consequences upon that. So we'll live in a society where nobody trusts each other. There's just so much chaos, and there's no growth. For the most part. So that's the amoral society, the chaotic society. And now we come to the more constrained society. So this society, it's very interesting. I mean, for the most part, I'm sure everybody would wanna have a perfect world, where there's no wrong, there's no chaos, everything is just
yeah.
Yeah.
Huh? I mean, not.
Yeah, where
I said
everything is just utopia. They're just good. There's nothing that we can um there's no wrongdoing, you know. And for the most part, it does sound like a nice world to live in, but when you actually truly think of it, it actually diminishes the human, a large part of us as humans, which is our ability to choose freely, you know. I believe that in this constrained world, we will not be able to, like, there'll be sort of a very oppressive
Yeah.
control above us, which is gonna literally tell us what to do, and we're not, and we're incapable of choosing, the opposite side. There won't be any free will, which takes away so much from us, and
Sure.
one of the biggest things that it does take away is emotions, because
Mm.
emotions, for the most part, give us direction. They make us choose a specific direction with maybe two or more opportunities, two or more pathways. We exercise our emotions, and of course, there's more to that, but we exercise our emotions in order to do certain things, right? And if we live in this constrained world where it's impossible to choose wrong, then we will not have emotions. We will just be so like neutral. We'll kind of be like machines, to say. We'll kind of be programmed,
Sure.
you know.
For sure.
And one thing about a machine, if you create a machine, it can never go beyond or below of what it was made for or what it can do. It's just there. It's just them. So we will kind of be like machines. There will not be any elements of growth. Yeah, bro. As I was saying, bro, to continue with the constrained society, another disadvantage is there'll be a lot of artificial, like the relationships, for the most part, will be very artificial. Because if you think of it, the progress of relationships, requires some elements of mistakes and compassion and
Yeah.
forgiveness. There have to be
Yeah.
a lot of these elements which require you to be flexible in your decisions in order to progress or kill the relationship. So in
Mm-hmm.
this constrained world, which is too perfect, it will not allow the depth or authenticity of relationships, or to be or to really understand relationships. Even in regards to, let's go back to the emotions. Yes, I said as much as emotions won't exist, but in a perfect society, we could say that we will happy 24/7, right? We will be joyous 24/7. We will never experience any other type of emotion. So
Right.
how will we truly understand happiness if there's no sadness? How will we truly uh understand, patience or love and compassion if there's no anger or, resentfulness or sad, all these things, all these bad or negative emotions actually make us realize the power of the positive emotions, you know. So if you're gonna be experiencing that, you know, 24/7, and we're just always happy, will we truly of it, will we truly feel the depth of happiness, or appreciate it? And I think that's is the constrained world is bad, and now we have the free will, the more free, well, the world that we live in now, full of choices,
Mhm.
you know, which creates a society, which creates us as human beings, because we have to are going to lead to somewhere else, which is going to lead to somewhere else and somewhere else. You see, there's that progress, there's that growth, and it can also be for the opposite. You can kill that. You can
Sure.
kill that based from the wrong choices that you make. So, to answer your question, bro, morality is super important to me. It is extremely important to me. It is basically a compass that directs me to what is right and what is wrong. I have two
Mm.
pathways in every single case scenario in my life on a daily basis, right? And this moral compass that lives inside me, and which I believe lives inside everyone else, will show me the right direction that will produce a fulfilling outcome, you know. And that
Mm-hmm.
outcome may not come now, it may not come in many years, but it will eventually come, you know. So is a big thing in my life. Uh, I definitely do think about it a lot. I think about what is right and what is wrong. Of course, I have my own biases, but I believe that
Right?
there is an objective, universal concept towards morality. And as much as everyone won't agree to it, it is there, agree to it or
Yeah,
not. You know,
yeah,
so
definitely.
that's my level of strength.
No, I hear you. I hear you. Well, I think we can both agree that there's the urge, as I said, and the need to do what is right. I myself regard morals at a very high level as well. I think in the last video I said to Dylan that I look at them as accomplices. If you struggle to define what is right and what is wrong to you, you're obviously going to struggle in life, right? So, but now
Yes,
here's my question. This is what makes the statement much more complex. This is what makes the argument much more complex. You know, can morality exist? And I know this is an egg and chicken question, but I just want to know from you personally. Which one gives birth to which? Does morality give birth to religion, or does religion give birth to morality? And can one really exist without the other? Is it possible for one to exist without the other?
that's a very that's a good question, man. And yo, I kept on thinking about, and
Yeah,
it led me to different avenues, which just led to a deep rabbit hole. It's very broad. It's very
definitely.
to answer that, in my opinion. Uh, so morality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Morality. When I did a bit of research, I found that morality is actually biological. Anything that we define in biology was not created by humans, and
Mm,
since our decision to choose between what is right and wrong in a given scenario natural is ingrained within all of us through that ventromedial prefrontal cortex, then that means that religion did not create,
yeah,
and for the most
I hear.
part, morality created religion. You
Mm.
understand?
So morality created
So,
religion.
yes, that's my belief. And religion, right? Uh, religion is sort of the accountability holder. We've done
Correct.
wrong things, which we know is wrong, but we went to go do it, right? Anyway, and because we have this thing called free will, we are able to choose whether to reject or accept that thing
Mm.
that the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, in regards to taking us to the right path. So I can reject not killing someone. You know, part of my brain is telling me to not kill them. I can reject that and go ahead and kill them,
So,
right?
but to
So
that
in
point,
that case, yeah,
sorry to cut you. But to that point, this is what I think. This is what I believe. Doesn't religion at least sharpen the concept of morals much more? Let me give you a practical example. If you're a man that's not religious, you simply just have a high moral ground though. So you believe that killing's wrong, right? Like you cannot murder somebody. It's wrong. Stealing is wrong, and all that. You know, but you don't think it's necessarily important to, let's say, uh, commit adultery, right? You can just go and commit adultery, and for you,
yeah,
since you're not religious, that's okay, right? So doesn't religion come at an aspect that to say, well, morals on its own is very base level. Religion just takes it up another, you know, level to say there's certain things that we look at very, very, very generally. Religion comes and says, well, if you go deep down, even this is not actually morally correct, and even that is not actually morally right. So, what I'm trying to say is, when you look at the concept of morality, you realize that it happens to be very in accordance with the religion, right? We can all agree to that, but I just think religion takes it a step further. Like it just adds precision. It adds there's an element that it adds to the whole concept, and it's like it's much more precise about, let me say, moral principles, right? Because I think we stop at right and wrong in morality as a concept, and that can be defined differently by a lot of people. But with religion, you realize that, I can tell you that you cannot have sex before marriage, you cannot commit adultery, you cannot, I don't know, hate your neighbors, like, so you wouldn't possibly think of all these things when you look at the concept of morality at its core, at its foundation, right? So hence I was saying, which do you think creates which, and most importantly, do you think one can exist without the other? Like, what is a man that has a higher moral ground without a religious backbone? What does that make of you?
Yeah, man, and
Because I think
yeah, I definitely. Huh?
because I think you can have a very firm moral ground, but without religion, I feel like you're still missing like that one element, because it's like there's still going to be cases where you're going to compromise, and that's the whole point. Like, where religion comes into the conversation, where it's like you have a fixed, a clear, and a much more precise definition of what is right to you and what is wrong to you. To say,
Yeah, man. And I definitely agree with that. This is why I first mentioned that religion is that accountability holder. It holds you
sure.
accountable of
Hmm.
continuously listening to that pre-medial prefrontal cortex, right? That part of your brain that's telling you that this is having sex before marriage. To go in direction to that side of your brain, that helps you make decisions um, in terms of like what is right and what is wrong. So religion is that. So I basically, yeah, 100% agree with you that religion, it does fuse it, like you said, it's precision. It gives that precision. It gives that. It makes you
Exactly.
more inclined to go and to that that your brain that's telling you to not go do that
Yeah.
thing, you know.
Yeah.
And like I said, uh, there's this high entity above us, right? That
Mhm.
definitely did create, morality. Since, like I said, morality is biological and from nature. It's not a thing that we made. We did not create morality. In fact,
Sure.
the
Sure.
morality that we quote unquote created, it's a secular morality, and there's a huge difference between, the objective, the foundational morality, and then the secular morality. Um, I don't know if you want to go into that a bit later or now, but yeah,
Sure. Sure.
religion. Huh?
Sure. No problem.
Okay. Let's dive deep into that one then. So, morality, right? That was so created by human beings. The problem with that morality is that it's constantly changing. It's forever changing. We
Mm.
always, I'm sure you've heard of, this concept of social norms that we all agree with, and
Yeah.
evolutionarily it constantly changes. Back in the
Yeah.
hundreds of years ago, it was wrong to be gay. But now you're in fact seen as immoral if you
Man is
reject
trying to get
someone that's
channel
gay.
cancelled. Trying to get my channel cancelled. I hear you.
Okay, sorry, bro.
No,
Sorry,
no,
bro. Sorry.
no, no. I hear you. I
Uh,
hear you. See, uh, I think time does that,
I'll give
man.
a better example.
You know?
I'll
No,
give a better
but no,
example.
but no, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. I think, you know it's one of the unfair things about time that I think is unfair, because people use time as an excuse to normalize certain dynamics, right? It's like and I always tell people, because I'm a Christian by faith, so it's like I always say modernization is not entirely something of the Lord. Like it's brought us to compromise and manipulate and change with so many of the ways and the dynamics of our society, where it's like years ago, what was without a discussion wrong is compromised with today, right? So, and people would tell you, no, well, that's the problem. It's ever changing. And I think I can only hold on to something as a conviction if I know deep down that no matter what happens, this is never going to change, right? This is me. If I do otherwise, that means it's me not abiding by whatever thing it is, right? Otherwise, I cannot find myself doing otherwise and saying, well, times have changed or I'm doing this because of that. No, that's, you've gone out of line. That's what it is. You've compromised, right? And I think that that adds up to your point there.
Yeah, man, definitely, and also it's that with this thing of the secular morality, and because it's forever changing. Remember, us humans can never ever create something that's universally agreed upon. It's always contradicting. It can always contradict itself. It can always put you in circles because you may feel that way, but this person feels that way about this thing and that thing about that. And the issue with that is that it cannot stay consistent. And if it cannot stay consistent and it cannot sustain itself, then it's practically not of use, to society. We need something that's very grounded and that's very truthful, whether it's as truthful as you needing oxygen, basically, that's the higher.
Sorry to cut you off again. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
But I guess doesn't this sum up to the fact that you said there's nothing we can create that can be universally agreed upon, right? As I was saying, you did say that it's hard for us to create something that we can universally agree upon, right? So what does that make of what does that make of the guy that comes out in the crowd and says, I don't agree with what you think is right and wrong? Is that immoral? Because remember, at the end of the day, we cannot all agree to the same thing, right? It goes back to what I was saying. It needs to be non-changing to a point where we all have no choice but to agree to it. If you can still get individuals that do not agree to it, I think that might be an indication that it's actually man-made. I don't know what you think about that.
Bro, I want to say this. Remember that even though we have these universal principles, that are universal, we still have people that disagree, that disagree upon those, right? Because of whatever reasons that they have. And in my opinion, it makes that immoral. If you're gonna disagree with something that is universally moral, I believe that it is immoral because any decision you make upon that specific thing that is moral, I mean, any conflict or any disagreements, that you make upon that specific universal moral, you're gonna definitely do the opposite, right? And the opposite of whatever thing is universally moral is immoral. I believe that we have every moral principle that we need in order to make society better. And there's no more moralities that need to be created. And the ones that are created, they have so much chaos and they can lead to so many downward spirals upon society, So this whole thing of I feel this is wrong and I'm gonna create a moral principle out of this thing that I feel is wrong, it will backfire in some way, shape, or form. Even if it looks good in the face value, it will backfire in some way, shape, or form. Whereas all of the universal, truthful, uh, moral principles, those we have enough of it. And if everyone were to do every one of them, then it will make society better. But now the real question is, what are those universal, how do we regard other people that don't believe, in our beliefs, right? How then can we find a common ground with what is universally? Because we have so many different cultures, what is universally moral to one person is not universally moral to another person.
Yeah.
So are we able to find this coexistence, or this element of morality that we can all see as face value and agree that, yeah, this thing is good and it makes just the entirety of society
Mm.
much more better? It's a question that I always ask myself that until this day I cannot answer. You know.
No, I hear you. I hear you. But now I can't help but bring Dylan's argument into this. He says something along the lines of when he saw you know the topic argument of this conversation. He said he thinks morals should exist out of religion.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the people are going to be moral, or the people are going to be morally correct, but out of fear,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Okay, so this solidifies. I think the idea behind that was, you're gonna forgive me if I'm wrong on this one, Dylan, but that's like, I guess it's trying to say religion pushes this. It forces people to be obligated, to have moral obligations, which is good, but I guess his point is, if you're doing it out of fear, it defeats the whole purpose. It doesn't make it genuine, because it's supposed to be done from your own conscience and by your own conviction. So if you're going to do it out of fear, then you're missing out on the purpose. It defeats the whole point.
Yeah. And I
No, I hear
definitely
you.
agree.
I hear you. I hear you. I was actually just thinking of, you know in the very similar lines, that fear obviously defeats. It takes away from the thing. When fear is involved, it's just not genuine anymore. But I was thinking personally, I think it guides us to very specific things in life. Look at marriage, for example. I think personally, not based on my moral high ground, but based on my, well, let me just say, based on my religion. Based on my I don't know how to phrase this correctly, but I regard marriage as something highly important, right? I don't think I would have had the same mindset out of religion. I don't think I would have had the same idea out of religion, right? So it just goes much deeper. As I said, it doesn't stop at surface level. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they said, if you're this is the example that they use. Like, they I don't know how the conversation got there, but this is the example that they used to me. They said, if you don't necessarily have to be a religious person, as long as you know how to direct your life and you're doing what you think is right, then you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
I didn't want to comment on that, but that's what they think.
Mm. Okay. So in regards to, okay, let me first start with the whole premarital sex and marriage and all of that, right? Of how you feel like you needed religion in order for you to really anchor that within your system. Uh,
Yeah.
and in me, I'm in disagreement with that. And here's why. It's because no human being, and let me ask you individually, actually, you yourself, like outside, you want to share someone that you so quote unquote love so much, with all your heart and all your minds, that person to sort of have another partner that is sharing uh their selves with, would that make you comfortable? Like, naturally, I mean, I understand that there are some people that don't care
All,
about that, and in my opinion, it's based from the influences around them and how they grew up, and
the
culture
pro-
and all of these
yeah.
different factors that have
Mhm.
shifted their paradigm of being a one partner
Yeah.
and being married to that partner, etc., etc. So,
Mhm.
would you yourself enjoy or be okay with having someone that you truly and possess themselves upon another individual?
I mean, obviously not.
Right,
Obviously.
linked to this.
Mhm.
If you think of it, right, it's easy actually to see what is moral and what is not moral. Look at how much it affects people. If whatever you do or whatever is done to you causes harm, you know, that already should picture in your head that no, this thing is wrong. If it
Yeah,
makes you less of a human, if it makes you less of a human, if it violates your emotions or your mind or your body, if it violates any of those things, then that should be wrong. Could we agree to that? So going back to the whole marriage thing and and and, and premarital sex and all of that, if someone or cheating even, yeah, like going back to that question, if that person that you love goes to another person and loves them too, or yeah, or shares themselves to them, you said because it's gonna hurt you, because it's gonna hurt your emotions, gonna hurt, it's gonna violate your mind, you won't function properly because you're just all over the place. You're feeling less valuable as a human being. Insecurities
yeah,
start popping up, you start having anxiety. You see, you have all of these things that are running within your physiology and your mind and your consciousness to say, that will lead you to the destruction of your progress as an individual person, as Kalupe, you know. Hence
sure.
why I believe that you do not need religion to figure that out. You know, and you see it all around you. When people cheat on each other, when people want to share multiple partners, and all of, you see the amount of chaos it causes. Upon it's very painful. I'm sure you have gone through heartbreak. I've gone through heartbreak. I wouldn't want. So I wouldn't want to. Since I know those feelings, I wouldn't want to do that to someone else. I would definitely want to
Yeah.
stick to that person. I would definitely want to marry them. I would definitely want to
Mm-hmm.
be like commit to them for the rest of my life because I know the emotions that comes and with like doing the opposite, doing the immoral side of this whole thing called relationship, type of thing. So it goes with like literally every other thing, bro. Does it hurt you
Mm.
or does it hurt someone else? And how does it do that? And that on its own does not need
I get the
religion.
idea you're trying to bring to the table. I look at what people used to say regarding LGBTQ like years ago, and now it's
Yeah,
different, right? Sums up what you were saying earlier. You know, so you look at, as you said, on the fact that is it hurting you? Is it hurting the other person? But I
yeah,
guess the reasoning, man. I guess the reasoning is the biggest challenge because again, I'm sorry to hold on to this point, but if you can be religiously invested, I think the reasoning you find just is better because then you get to realize that, oh, I can't do this because so and so in the Bible, or my God says otherwise, or my faith declares other. But if you're outside of that, you can look and give it one of the very modern reasons we give all the times. Like people say it's the survival of the fittest. Let me use that as an example, right?
yeah,
So if I have to step on you to get to the top, right? The
yeah,
action of me stepping upon you, let's say, is religiously incorrect, right?
yeah,
But I don't care about religion. So I'm just gonna look at it and be like, oh well, it's life, man's gotta do what a man's gotta do. So now what doesn't that become challenging in that aspect to say you've lacked to realize that you're actually doing something that's not entirely morally correct. Perhaps if you had some sort of spiritual guidance, you would have thought otherwise. You know.
yeah. No, I hear. Remember, I believe that in the most natural, like morality is natural, right? Morality is natural, and religion is not natural. And by natural, I mean it had to be created by something higher than us, right? And that's what I believe. Like since morality is not nat, I mean since morality is natural, and religion is not natural, that's why I feel we don't need it. And stepping upon other people, it's not that it's religiously uh like the morality that comes from
No,
religion
well, the
makes
action of
stepping up.
hurt person. I guess that's what I'm trying to imply. Because the other person
Yeah,
is getting hurt.
No, they are getting hurt, definitely. It's a natural thing that you will see, right? Even if you don't, that's what I'm saying. You don't need, because even in religion, a lot of religious people do bad things. They still do bad things. And why is that? If you're saying that religion is the anchor, is the fuel is the fuel that fuses, your belief, then why do extremely religious people, example like the Pope, why do
Trying to get me cancelled again. No, well, I think that's
it's
I,
oh
I think it's
nah,
deeper than that. Relax. I think it's deeper than that, man. Look, at the end of the day, I guess we're different.